Hi, everyone. Welcome to Marvel Time. My name is Benji. I'm joined, as always, with Mac.
Hey.
And a special guest star today, Mike Celestino, because he's going to be talking about a special comic that came out now that Marvel and 20th Century Fox, or 20th Century Studios, not all part of the same family. There's an opportunity to don't scream because no one can hear you. Right. But anyway, you want to get started with comics today?
Yeah, let's jump into. We have our usual 5 issues. Only 2 King in Black titles, which I am dying to get it back into, like real King in Black or King in Black proper. But I guess let's start off with some of the other ones. How about Miles Morales?
So, to me, I love this comic, this cover, because here's the thing. This is what I like to call like a breather issue.
Yeah,
like it takes place after the King in Black crazy. One leads into what's happening next, and it's really just superheroes being superheroes and living their real lives, which is what Spider-Man and teen heroes are usually best at. This isn't Thor like epic. And I love this cover. It like hints the Clone Saga's coming. You see a clone there, but it has nothing to do with the Clone Saga until the final page. And it's really just Miles and Kamala. I'm still getting used to like the older Miles. I'm still used to him being like 12. So like it's taking a little getting used to seeing him like on a quasi date kind of thing. But I really like the characterization in this episode issue. And I'm excited for the Clone Saga, which is words that have never come out of my mouth before.
Yeah, definitely not something I thought I would say either, but I agree with you. And to your point on the cover, I think we had some really great covers this week. There was another one that I really liked that we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this issue as a whole. You I think worded it best when you call this a breather issue. I have it, as sort of like an in-between story. I do have some issues with the release schedule. Obviously, one, this being coming, this taking place after King in Black. But also, how are you going to release this issue right after we do a basketball team draft on Zacks of Life? And now you have 2 pages of 2 heroes playing each other in basketball. That was
yeah. So here's the thing. Yeah, when I messaged Matt, so I heard Zacks of Life yesterday, and that Kyle, you and Cole drafted basketball teams, and I was like, I sent my list, and I included Miles Morales because he's the only superhero, not so much in this iteration, but who wears like Nikes. Like, normally they have their weird pajama bottom feet thing, which I'm not quite sure how that's efficient, but like he actually wears basketball shoes. And I was like, how do you not include Miles Morales? And then the next day, this issue comes out, and it's basically playing street ball with Kamala Khan. And I was like, see, told you.
Yeah, Kamala too. We should have drafted both of them, really. But yeah. Overall, though, I did like this issue. It was a lot of fun, and like you said, it got me excited for the Clone Saga, which is not something I thought I would say. But real quick, too, speaking of Zacks of Life, just a sneak peek for something coming in the future here.
I don't see it. Are you not big enough?
Just right there. There you go.
Oh, Mike. I was looking at your little screen here, and I was like, what's he pointing at? Okay, so then next we had issue number 5 of Taskmaster. I'm going to start just because I have a lot to say. I love this series, but to me this was like a letdown in that it happened so quick. Everything got wrapped up in a bow, like, and then it mattered nothing. And then there's a weird twist at the end that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. And so I love the scripting. I love the concept, but I was really disappointed in how this series wrapped up.
So we are not on the same page on this one, actually. Wow. I loved this series and every part of it. And I thought this is actually going to be my pick of the week. I liked this issue. I liked that it did a really good job of, so often when we're reading all these different comics, you get sort of almost like a lack of continuity in some stories. Some angles go in different directions and, they don't really fit into the larger universe. But this one really tied into several other stories in the past and brought in little pieces of different stories, including one of my favorite crossover events, Siege. So I like that they went back to that. And that was years ago too. So it's cool to call back on, go back so far into Marvel history.
Siege is the first Marvel event that happened after the acquisition was complete.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Okay. But that is, like I said, one of my all-time favorites. So I like that they incorporated it. And yeah, I mean, it was still funny. Taskmaster was still allowed to be pretty hilarious in this. And I thought it was a good ending for his character. Maybe not so much some of the others. There was a pretty cool twist in the end, but I think Taskmaster walked away with his character still like intact and wasn't hurt at all by the way that the story went.
Yeah, I don't know. And maybe it's just that once Maria Hill showed up, I was all for it. I was all for the Nick Fury thing. I was all for the Black Widow thing. Once Maria Hill showed up, I was just like, and here's I'm going to monologue for you, and that's the end. So I don't know. Maybe it deserves another read. Next, we have my pick of the week, Amazing Spider-Man number 62. I mean, anyone who knows me, and if you read the 5 comics we read, you would know this is my pick of the week. And what I love about it is they set up that Kingpin is going to go after, someone Boomerang cares about, right? And so you have MJ and his dog sitting essentially, and so you go like, oh no, he's going to shoot MJ again, and then no. He takes off Gog's inhibiting collar and Gog rampages through New York. And the love that Boomerang and Peter Parker here have for Gog as a dog owner gives me all the feels. And Gog is the best thing to happen to Spider-Man in a long time. And I will say, I love about too is you get classic Kingpin, you get Robbie Robertson, you get Tombstone, you get Jay Jonah being Jay Jonah and like talking about how he hasn't changed, and that's just awesome. So to me, it felt like a classic Spider-Man, like almost like a Dan Slott or I guess Stan Lee sort of Spider-Man, where it's balanced between the heroics and the sort of personal lives of the characters that are around him.
Yeah, I totally agree. The only things I would say are one, I was hoping that Gog's story would last a little bit longer. I think they wrapped that up and moved on pretty quickly. But I mean, that's okay because the story that they are leading into is off to a really great start. And they throw in a really cool twist at the end of this issue as well. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
King in Black time. Scream.
Yep. Back to some symbiote stuff. And this one I was pretty much locked in after reading Taskmaster, with that being my pick of the week. This one almost stole it. I really like this issue a lot. This is a character that doesn't often get in the spotlight. I've been a villain in some arcs here and there, but very rarely the protagonist of their own story. So I really like that we are getting so many different characters getting their own story within King in Black, and Scream all of a sudden becomes a little bit of a heavy hitter here. I did not expect that at all. I actually, looking at this, I was thinking Scream's sort of an expendable character. This might be one of those like shock issues, like, oh, look what Null can do to this headline character. And instead it went in a different direction, and I'm excited to see what impact this character will have on King in Black as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, despite what the universal attraction would make you think, she doesn't usually get a lot of attention, and so it's neat to see by playing the host and symbiote having a conversation together, you're able to learn about both of them fairly quickly. So for a character that if you're just reading main Marvel books, you're not going to have a whole lot of exposure to, it's able to do a lot of exposition while also still telling a story without feeling burdensome. So this would probably be my runner-up if Gog wasn't there. And then our final issue is not that one. That's the same one I showed you. It's another King in Black issue. It is Savage Avengers.
Yeah, and this is some more weird scheduling stuff going on here because this is taking place earlier in King in Black now. As we know, with King in Black, Cyclops and Storm have since been freed from Null. So this is going back to a mission for the Savage Avengers. They're trying to free their friends here. I like this. I think there was a lot of really cool action, some really great artwork in both this and Scream. And actually, I should have mentioned too, Scream, that was the cover that I was alluding to earlier. I really, really like that cover. It's so simple, but the artwork is fantastic. And I think that's the same for this issue as well, all throughout this book. I really like this. Again, some cool action. I am a sucker for all the symbiote stuff, so I'm always going to enjoy these. But I like too that they took the time to have Null give such a huge compliment to Storm, all the characters that Null has taken over, and he says, this one is the most powerful. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then of course you've got Deadpool in there, and Deadpool's always going to be funny, especially when the only clothes he can find is Emma Frost's uniform. So that's an interesting panel to say the least.
And this is a little bit of a spoiler, but not really. And having Conan sort of take over the classic Hellfire Club, is just, you just wonder where that's headed. So this has been a surprise run. Savage Avengers has been sort of a spotty book in its history, but I think it really took the Null concept and really was able to do something special with it. So I really liked it.
Yeah, I agree. I've enjoyed this series. We haven't gone through the entire series, but the books that we have read, I've enjoyed them.
So, Mike.
Yes.
This is Alien.
Yeah, I was excited when they announced this because, as you may know, Dark Horse had the rights for Alien for many, many, many years. When was the first Alien comic published? Like the late 80s, probably, right? Over at Dark Horse, and they've done many series and miniseries and stuff, and I've read some of it. I've tried to get into it, but there's just so much that mythology had become so dense. So I was happy to hear that it's kind of starting fresh again under Marvel, and I picked up the new. Here we go. I got a variant cover, I guess, but
I think this might actually. I think this is the promo one. I think you have the real cover.
Oh no, mine says variant.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
Getting that hard copy there. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't read digital comics.
Mike might look like he's in his 30s, but he's actually 72.
No, I try not to. I did have to buy a digital comic every once in a while, but I wanted to ask you guys, Philip Kennedy Johnson, what else has he done? You know that name?
The name's not familiar to me, no.
Okay. And then Salvador Larroca, I'm familiar with. He's done some Star Wars stuff. What do you guys think of him as an artist?
I mean, from the previews of this series that Marvel has shared, I love it. I mean, did he do the cover for this as well?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I mean, like the cover here is fantastic, and some of the little sneak peeks that Marvel has given, I've really enjoyed the artwork for sure.
He does he tries to get the likenesses real. I've seen people accuse him of tracing, he'll bring up a still image of the actors and draw it based on that. The character of Bishop shows up, the Lance Henriksen character from the movies, although he's just another copy of the same. Not to be
confused with Bishop from Savage Avengers.
Right. This is the android from Aliens. And this book takes place after the second Alien film called Aliens. And it's about a military commander working for the Weyland-Yutani Corporation who's retiring. And he's also flashing back to a mission that he had where he encountered the titular aliens. And then he's in these kind of therapy sessions with the android Bishop, who's a copy of the Bishop android that we know from the movie. But he's basically talking about his memories of this mission and then his life as a military guy. And then he's also, we discover as the issue goes on that he's also dying of some unknown illness. But then we find out that his son is kind of like a eco-terrorist who's trying to bring down the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, and they don't get along. The father and son don't get along, and then the issue ends with the son invading this other space station and finding, with his like eco-terrorist gang, they find this bio lab where they have a bunch of like alien hybrids like in those suspended animation tanks, and it doesn't go as planned as you can imagine. But yeah, I really like it. I'm excited for this series to
So
pick up.
this alien in this image here looks looks different than the one in the movie. Is that because it's like being experimented on, or is it just cool cover art?
That's a good question. I don't know. I didn't notice. I know there's all sorts of different aliens in the mythology depending on like which species they attach to or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I'm not sure, to be honest.
Are you a fan of Predator too, or
I,
just more
I'm I'm a huge fan of Alien the movie and Aliens the movie, so just the first two in that series. And I like Predator, but I never got into like Aliens versus Predator or whatever.
The only reason I ask is because I guess next wave of this is Marvel is going to be doing Predator comics, separate, and so it'll be interesting to see. Marvel does, outside of Star Wars, which you cover for us. Marvel doesn't do a lot of licensed books anymore. It's usually just Marvel characters,
right?
And they don't even do Disney comics. So it's interesting that they felt Alien was going to be. I mean, as a Star Wars fan, how do you think Marvel has handled the Star Wars comic line?
Oh, I love the current Star Wars comics. I like how quote unquote important they feel, like, because in the current canon we don't know what happened between the movies of the original trilogy except for the comics. Really, that's the only place where they've dealt with that material. So you've got the main characters basically of the original trilogy and all the adventures they have between the movies. That's basically the gaps that they're filling with the comics. And I think the writers that they've chosen by and large have been great, and the art is always really good. So yeah, I have no complaints for the most part about the Marvel Star Wars comics.
So then going back to Alien, I mean, based on the first issue, you're gonna pick up issue 2. That's the real test.
Oh yeah, no, I already put it on my pull list. So yeah, it's gonna be a regular read for me. I think the Alien franchise, to me, it reminds me of Terminator a little bit in that the first two movies are so great that you would think that they would be able to build this expanded universe based on that, the core being so good, but they've never really been able to. Like, all the other sequels are so like disposable. So I feel like it's prime for something good to come out of it. Maybe it's impossible, I don't know. But I'm excited for this comic. I'm also really excited for the Noah Hawley Alien series that got announced at the Disney Investor Day in the fall, because he's one of my favorite TV creators. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time to be an Alien fan.
I mean, who knows how to manage?
Oh, I think we lost you there.
Yeah, Benji, you dropped out.
That's because I actually hit mute. I said, who's going? Do you think Disney has what it takes to manage like a franchise that's as big as Alien?
There's no track record to show that they can, so I'm not sure.
So we all watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? So what do we think? Well, I always start with Mike, since Matt can say it like on 5 different shows.
So I had Lee, our coworker Lee, on my podcast yesterday. The episode went up this morning. We actually talked about Falcon and the Winter Soldier a little bit, and I feel like I differed from him in that I was kind of disinterested in the more mundane aspects of it, like the scene where they go to apply for the loan. I was like, I don't know if I care this much about the personal lives of these superheroes, but I did like the rest of the episode, and I'm very intrigued by the fake Captain America, or I guess U.S. agent, as you guys have pointed out to me, that they introduce at the end, especially like looking into who that character is and what they could potentially do with him in the series.
I listened to your podcast, and it was interesting to me that. Oh, like, I mean, I watched it with you, Mac, but that wasn't a surprise. We knew John Walker was in it. We know John Walker's story, but we know that because we've read Marvel comics, including the recent John Walker, miniseries by Christopher Priest. So it's like, well, yeah, of course. Like, who else is it going to be? But like the internet and more sort of MCU specific fans were I was surprised at how surprised they were. I mean, like. We all knew it was Agatha Harkness, but it was still a cool reveal, and like it took us a way to get there. To me, this was just like, yeah, so like that's the story they're going to tell. It's like, guess what? Cinderella's slipper fits her foot. It's like there was no like shock value. It's just what needed to happen, and that's not a dig, but that's just that's part of the lifting you got to do to tell the story you're going to tell.
I mean, there are definitely comic characters who are not familiar to anybody who doesn't read the comics, though, and I think that's got to be one of them, because I don't know that character has seeped into the public consciousness.
No, of course. I mean,
the comics.
I think a lot of times seeping into the public consciousness these days is they're either on the X-Men animated series or in the MCU. But
I guess so. But like people knew who like Venom was before Venom became a character in the movies and stuff.
No, and John Walker is definitely from a different, I mean, his heyday was during the Nixon administration, but I think it's just sometimes it's hard to watch it and realizing there's huge fans of Marvel movies who don't know it. I mean, it's not a problem. It's a thing in my head I have to get around, is that they have to make this play for Marvel fans, but they also have to play for MCU's fans, and those will have different sort of baggage coming into it. And it was funny because, like, I remember, like, I didn't even think to have Mac do an article about, hey, who's John Walker? Because I was like, this isn't a surprise. But then I realized, hey, well, maybe we should.
I've read a lot of Marvel comics, and I had heard of the character, but I had never encountered him. I mean, mostly I stick to the Fantastic Four, like, universe of stuff, like, within the Marvel universe. So, yeah, he wasn't really on my radar.
There, for anybody wondering, by the way, there is an article up on Laughing Place right now about John Walker and sort of that character's history, so you can check that out. But yeah, I was Benji. I was initially with you thinking like, all right, I kind of wanted sort of more punch at the end of that episode because, like you said, we knew this was coming. But I think it is one of those things. Since talking to some other fans who don't necessarily follow every little piece of news and every comic every week. That did hit a little bit bigger and people felt like that was a big moment for the show. So, yeah, I don't have so much of an issue with that anymore. I think what I don't want to say concerned about, but I guess mildly concerned, I guess. There's a lot that needs to happen and there's only 5 more episodes. This is a shorter run. The two title characters haven't even gotten together yet. This has just been Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So there's a lot of stuff that has to happen.
I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
Do you think, based on what they said in this episode, is Steve Rogers dead?
That was the vibe that I got, for sure.
Okay.
I don't know.
He could be going full Nick Fury on us. He might just be off somewhere, but...
I mean, he could be on the moon.
Yeah, he could be on the moon.
I don't know. It's a good. I also don't know that it matters. Captain America retired versus Captain America dead. I mean, not that I want anyone to be dead, but no one expects 80-year-old Captain America or whatever to be, smashing bad guys. So what's the difference?
Right. I think also because Chris Evans probably publicly has said that he's not coming back. Right. So, we can't really expect to see him again. But I just was wondering if you guys thought like that character was still around and they were like going to visit him in their free time or whatever. But
I hope that the story doesn't care what Steve Rogers does, because then it instantly becomes a Steve Rogers story, and that's not what this is supposed to be.
Yeah, they kind of put a button on that. Yeah, you're right.
I agree with that, but that being said, I do fully expect to see Chris Evans back in the MCU. There's going to be a lot of time travel stuff in the future. I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect if the story, I mean, just like anything, you know, the money, if the money and story is right, you know, never say never.
Is he going to be in What If? Have they said if he's voicing?
Yes, he is. So speaking of movies, we've got news that Black Widow, along with some other Disney titles, is going to go do a split release on July 9th. So it's being pushed back again another 2 months or so. It'll be available in theaters as well as Premier Access. So we're doing the Raya and the Last Dragon plan. So what's interesting to me is I almost wonder if this is going to come out the same day as a Loki episode. So, I mean, I don't know how many episodes Loki is. I don't know how they're releasing it. But, you know, based on my math, it seems like this might come out on the season finale of Loki. So
I wonder if they'll do what they did with The Mandalorian the week The Rise of Skywalker came out. Do you remember that? They had the Mandalorian episode was on like a Wednesday or something.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I completely forgot about that.
Do we know how many episodes of Loki we're getting?
The rumor is 6.
Okay. I think this would be on episode 5, if I track that correctly. I could be wrong.
It might. So it comes out Loki comes out the 11th.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3.
June 11th,
yeah, sorry, you're right. 5.
Okay.
So
it would be kind of, you know, just before the finale.
Yeah, and because it's a weird. So Cruella is doing the same thing, but it's keeping its end of May release date. There's got to be a reason they're pushing this to July. Maybe it's just theater. You know, they expect more theaters to be open, but the Premier Access route kind of hints that they're not counting on that. So I just have lots of questions. I'm sure there's a strategy. I'm sure they just didn't pick it up, but it's somewhat unclear to me about why they did it this way.
Yeah, on one hand, I'm disappointed that it's delayed again, but on the other hand, you know what? I have a date now. I know when I will be watching this movie. I'm getting it on Disney Plus, regardless of what happens. So I'm looking forward to this now.
Speaking of movie delays, what's this? It's Venom 2, but has been pushed back 3 months by Sony. Not part of the MCU, but I didn't even see it. So the first one. So.
I did.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but it still isn't the character that I love. And you know what? Just keep continuous, you know, delays on this movie would be fine. Just, you know, let Marvel reboot it. Give me the real Venom. You can even have Tom Hardy play him. He was fantastic. That's fine. But I want real Venom in the MCU.
My favorite thing about the Venom movie is how Venom keeps giving Eddie Brock like relationship advice. Do you remember that?
Yes. It was a very funny movie, which was interesting. Not what I expected, but and like I said, it was entertaining. It wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a great movie, but I still just want the real Venom.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what would have happened if they could have MCU'd it, you know?
Yeah.
But alas, not meant to be. But whoops, we did get some news from the premiere. What do they call it? It's like kickoff event.
Launch event. Yeah, we got to see a couple of other Marvel pairings from some of the upcoming series as they were launching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, including Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld, which was cool. This is the first time they've really interacted for us as not as their characters, but more or less as their characters. And it was really cool to see their chemistry. It seems like they're going to work really well together. I'm really excited for this series.
And then we got Lightning McQueen and Loki.
Yeah, still weird to me that we're seeing Owen Wilson in the MCU. That's a very strange pairing, but I like it. Loki has become one of this was at the bottom of my list in that first wave of Marvel series that were announced, and it's shooting up there. I'm excited. I feel like there's going to be some big ramifications from this series, and I'm really excited for it. And these two, again, the chemistry between them, they were really, really funny together. So looking forward to it.
And if I had planned this better from segue purposes, I would have talked about, I would have reversed this. So we could talk about how Variety is reporting that Echo will be spinning out of the Hawkeye series as a new Disney Plus series.
Yeah, this is awesome news. I did not see this coming, at least not this far in advance of the Hawkeye series even debuting. I knew, we know Echo is a very popular character and can definitely carry a series on her own. So I'm really looking forward to it, but did not expect to get this news so early.
And then, Mike, I did want to bring up, you attended a Touch of Disney.
I did.
And you got a new sneak peek into Avengers Campus.
Yeah, I was really jazzed about Avengers Campus after this event, mostly because of the way it looks at nighttime. Like when I saw that, I came around the corner from Cars Land, like walking down where Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters is. You can get this view of the Quinjet there and the Avengers logo underneath it. It just looks so neat. I can't wait to see it up close. But I don't even know if you'll be able to see the Quinjet, like if it's going to be visible from right underneath it or what, if you have to be standing further away. But yeah, so excited to check out this land. We don't know when it's opening, but it looks cool.
Sometime between April 30th, or I guess May 1st, and December 31st is the current plan, right? And what's funny is they, during the cast preview of A Touch of Disney, they had these billboards where they had like Marvel themed road signs.
Well, it was Stark Motors, which is kind of the bridge because it's in Cars Land technically. So it's kind of the bridge between Cars Land and Avengers Campus are these Stark Motors automobile billboards. And they leaked out from the cast preview, but they had since covered them up when regular guests could go in.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like how they blended from one land to the next, just kind of slowly bringing you into Avengers Campus.
So that's all I have on my list. Is there something else we should talk about before we wrap up?
No, I mean, a couple of books were announced that are coming up later in the year. Doctor Strange, the Book of the Vishanti, a book all about Marvel magic. And then the one that I'm excited about, William Shakespeare's Avengers, The Complete Works. That sounds awesome. I have a couple of the Star Wars books. Mike, I don't know if you ever checked those out, but I never did. They're pretty funny. I would recommend, just taking a look at them. So I can't wait to see the Avengers one. I mean, they said it was inspired by the whole line of "Doth Mother know you weareth her drapes." So I like that they ran with that.
Yeah, so there's been some fun Star Wars books. It's interesting comparing Star Wars publishing to Marvel publishing. Like Marvel will publish anything, and Star Wars they seem a little bit more selective, and like because the prose books don't necessarily tie into the comic universe. There's the canon is a lot more flexible when it comes to Marvel than it is to Star Wars, which I have lots of thoughts about. But that's so there's always fun books coming from Marvel. In fact, that Black Panther, the Files from Wakanda book is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Well, I think that about does it for us today. Don't forget, tomorrow we have Star Wars headlines at noon.
You guys are welcome to drop by for that if you like.
and then we got TV Club, I think, at 2. So more fun coming. And we'll see you all later. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining.